welcome back to this third segment, and we're going to talk just for a few minutes about the government's role. And again, government jumps into the healthcare process if they think there is market failure. So anytime they think there's an issue with with the efficiency of resource allocation in healthcare, maybe an equity issue, maybe society net benefits are not being maximized for society. The government tends to like to play in the sandbox, and healthcare is, no different than any other market economy. And government role gets into the healthcare market or any market economy because public interest and special interest groups lobby for the role of government. In DC, the driver in the lobbying effort could be healthcare, could be defense contracts, but you have a lot of lobbyists there that are, with public special interest groups that are trying to convince a particular senator, House Representative, to enact legislation to help increase their competitive advantage in a particular market. Public interest theory contends that government intervention, and it can be laws, it can be regulations, it can be some other type of intervention, is in the best interest of society to promote. Again, they're trying to promote efficiency and equity in the market, and they can do this by distributing income equitably, being competition, and that's a lot of times that's what they're trying to do: increase competition. In other words, dilute the impact of the market power, the brand loyalty of the market that you think is controlled by a monopoly or maybe an oligopoly, and or they try to provide information, just like public health and cigarettes and public health and alcohol. And they do some of this either through information, and do some with some taxing on some of these products. Again, alcohol, cigarettes, narcotics, illicit, what the government thinks are illicit activities or behaviors, and they try to reduce harmful externalities, and they redistribute income in society. And if you think about it, so food stamps, EBT cards, electronic benefit transfer cards. You see people, it's just an everyday observance here in the Atlanta market, and I'm sure it is in the national market too, that you'll go to the grocery store and the person in front of you's got their EBT card and they're swiping it, and they're, the government, either through Medicare Advantage or through Medicaid or through food stamps or the WIC program, they're loading dollars onto this electronic benefit transfer card that they are supposed to use for like healthy groceries, to buy maybe over-the-counter pharmaceuticals that they need to improve their health status. And that's the way they're redistributing this income to society, and they think it improves the equity in the market. And to a certain extent it does, but like everything else that the government does, it's just an inefficient approach at trying to improve efficiency and equity in the market. You end up with black markets, and these EBT cards are bought and sold and swapped around, and it's just an inefficient way to do it. Special interest group theory contends that the political venue can be treated as any private market, with supply and demand driving legislation both in amounts and types. And that's true. It's got your lobbyists are going to work for the highest bidder. They are, and some of these legislation and regulations are significant dollars involved. And you can see it. You can see it in the Nashville market. On the healthcare side of the financial coin, especially on the provider side, when you've got grants or you've got subsidies coming to healthcare providers to provide goods and services to maybe an indigent population or maybe just an underserved population. And those goods and services, healthcare goods and services, don't always go to those individuals that need it the most. That is the problem with those types of situations. And then DeWaars talks about both maximizing legislators supply legislation and wealth maximizing special interest groups demand legislation. Again, wealth maximizing special interest groups demand legislation because you see them, what they call the PACs, a political action committee, where they're soliciting funds from donors, and then they take and turn around and based on a particular special interest group, they are funneling funds to a particular legislature to enact a legislation or some type of regulation to improve the competitive advantage of a firm in a certain market or a market economy just in general. Lobbyists negotiate market clearing types of legislation. Variations of lobbying power, special interest groups are the beneficiaries, and the general public bears the cost. Again, the general public bears the cost. We bear the cost because it is a negative impact to society. We're going to financially bear the cost because we're paying taxes, and our tax-paying dollars are being funneled to some of these lobbyists, and in turn being funneled to some of the legislators to act or to enact regulation and legislation. So we, and I'm talking about the collective we in society, we're going to bear the cost. General public is made worse because we don't understand the impacts of the transfer of wealth, and the cost of acquiring information and changing legislation is high. It is extremely difficult to understand just the average consuming public. They just don't understand the impacts of the transfer of wealth, the financial impacts of the transfer of wealth, and the cost of acquiring information and changing legislature. Anytime you try to change legislature, especially using lobbyists, it's going to be the cost of that, legislative change is going to be extremely high. Inefficiencies exist in the special interest group model. Government interventions through regulations and laws protect the general public. In theory, protect the general public. It doesn't always work that way. Government intervenes to promote efficiency and equity or to enhance the well-being of specific groups at the cost to society. Just because the perception in the government or the perception with public policymakers is that they are trying to promote efficiency and equity, it usually ends up costing, again, the collective we, costing society. Government promotes efficiency and equity by providing public goods, levying taxes, correcting externalities, imposing regulations, enforcing antitrust laws. Yeah, good luck with enforcing a lot of antitrust laws, operating public enterprises, or sponsoring redistribution programs. So the government, in their, attempt at promoting efficiency and equity, they are providing, again, public goods sponsored by taxation, but still providing public goods. And again, they're levying taxes, and they're trying to generate an environment that is going to maximize the impact on society. Again, maximize the impact, the positive impact on the collective we. Then she talks just a little about cross-price elasticity of demand. If negative, goods and services are complements. If positive, they're substitutes. If positive and a high magnitude, then it could be monopolistic pricing and antitrust. And that's, antitrust, you're going back to the Sherman Act. And I don't want to say it never comes to fruition when they're trying to prosecute antitrust, but it's extremely difficult to collect the information needed to prosecute an individual or a firm regarding antitrust laws. Social insurance programs funded via taxation. And so when you're talking about social insurance, you're talking about Medicaid, food stamps, those types of programs. They're funded again via taxation with the goal of the government. Society marginal benefit equals society marginal cost. And a lot of these programs are built on the fact that you are pooling risk and you're transferring benefits between groups. So in pooling risk, and when they talk about transfer of benefits between groups, you may be transferring benefits between a healthy population to an unhealthy population. And by pooling that risk, that's where the government is trying to drive these social insurance programs. Provision of information, the government tries to provide access, if you're watching television at all. So right now, I guess it started in October and it goes to early December. Medicare Advantage individuals can, either select a first-time plan, or they swap plans or change plans. And the government, through these advertisements on TV, are trying to provide information to help consumers try to select a Medicare Advantage plan that most appropriately fits their needs or their health situations. Also talk about vaccination programs, shingles vaccinations, flu, pneumonia vaccinations for young children 6 and under. So the government's trying to provide information. How many people take advantage of that information is another story. But again, I think the government does a better job at providing information than they do some of the other things they do. But at the end of the day, it's going to be usually a negative cost to society, and again, a negative cost for the collective we. And that's going to wrap up our discussion about market failures and the role of government. The next time we get together, I think we're going to talk about these socioeconomics impacts of healthcare. I can't remember, but the next time we get together, we will start chapter 11. Talk to everybody soon.